Now on the line we have Professor Kondlo to further unpack the ANC elective conference. Prof, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now we saw long delays before the announcement of the top six yesterday. Seemingly the process of finalizing the NEC position seems to be taking a lot longer. What do you make of all the delays we are seeing at the conference?
Well, Tabile, I think the delays were due to the fact that the ANC wanted to make sure that the process itself is credible and that the counting is done thoroughly, and that once the announcements are made, there will be no one who questions the legitimacy of the process and the counting itself.
Now, Prof, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa was very vocal against corruption during his campaign. Now, let's look at the people around him thus far. Will he make good on his promises?
I think it's going to take a bit of time because he will need to make sure that his top six as a team, which is part of, gels and works together in a coherent way. At the moment, look, there are still a lot of questions about some of the figures in the top six. For instance, we've had numerous questions actually raised even in the media about people like Ace Magashule and also the Deputy President David Mabuza. It's because of perceptions and also rumors. I would say rumors because all these allegations are still to be verified. Rumors about their association or involvement in incidences of corruption.
Now, Prof, I'm actually glad that you spoke about perceptions, and I want us to touch on those sentiments. But before that, let's look at the top six in itself. I mean, the differences between the slates that we've seen, a mixture of the slates as well, where before the conference took place, you had some people who are now in the top six saying that this is who I'm supporting, but now they happen to be led by someone completely different. Your take on that?
Yes, I think it was very clear when the conference started. And also the leadership of the ANC said it several times, that they need to do away with slates. So what we see coming out of the conference, even though I still call it unprincipled cooperation to do away with slates, because you can actually see people who, during the run-up to the conference, were associated with the Jacob Zuma camp, which endorsed Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and the other camp, of course, supported Cyril Ramaphosa, and it was seen as Cyril Ramaphosa's slate. So the two have sort of merged. If you look at the outcome of the election of the top six, you have people associated with the Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma campaign, and you have also people who were strongly behind Cyril Ramaphosa campaign. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to deal with slates. It's a good thing to prioritize unity. But unity has to be principled. And at this stage, really, I can't say for sure that the unity we see having been forged is really a principled one.
Now, Prof, let's look at the sentiment, the notion that policies weren't sufficiently discussed at this conference, considering that the focus was on numbers and the different factions and the slates there. Do you think that's an accurate description of events there, that policies weren't really unpacked the way they should have been?
Tabila, I really doubt if the conference gave sufficient time to examine policy. I actually think policy discussions that were more serious took place during the NGC. But this particular conference has been dominated by divisions, competition for positions, lobbying, and elections. And I think policy discussions have sort of taken a back seat. If there are any discussions of policy, I doubt if such decisions have been as detailed and as thorough as they are supposed to be.
Prof, now finally, I just want to go back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier on, and that was actually a developing story at the moment, which is Senzo Mchunu's court action. Now, let's look at that. Can we see this dragging even further, perhaps into the new year? And what about the credibility of the rest of the positions?
Yes, unfortunately, I think if this issue is not contained within the ANC, it has a lot of potential really to dent the credibility of elections for all positions. And besides that, it raises questions why the ANC, when dealing with this election, it's not making sure that there are also independent auditors who actually come to verify the process, the integrity of the process, and also verify the integrity of counting itself. Because really, this now is going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons. It's going to raise a lot of questions. And unfortunately, this is despite the commitment at the beginning of the conference that people, ANC members, will accept the results as they are. So this issue around Mr. Senzo Mchunu, it has a potential to open a can of worms.
Prof, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. That was Professor Kondlo joining us on the line for some analysis on the ANC's 54th elective conference.